In any life, we have highs and lows, light and dark, wins and losses. What happens when we encounter that moment in time when what happens next could change everything? Join us as we step into another person's inspirational moment and see how we can connect their experience to ours. This is Greg Stevens, and you're listening to A Shot of Inspiration. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Shot of Inspiration. I've got a very special guest today. I'm really excited to have her here. She's going to be our youngest guest yet. Sophia Jones is 14 years old. Now, if you saw any of the previous episodes with Diana Jones, Diana is Sophia's mom, and she talked about her journey in life with Sophia and Sophia having muscular dystrophy. And I felt like it would be great to have Sophia on the show and just hear her perspective, because Diana had such a beautiful perspective about the road she went, how difficult it's been, but also how they've had really great breakthroughs in medicine and all the different things they've done. But I'd just wanted to bring Sophia on because she's been an inspiration to me. The room she's sitting in right now is her dad's office. And I remember I was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was sitting in the office and I had not met Sophia before. And Matt had told me all about her. But when Sophia walked into the room, folks, it felt like a presence of an angel. Now, Sophia has an old soul. I mean, there's just something about her. And I've always felt a connection with her since that very first day. And I felt like how she's handled the disease, how she's overcome. Her attitude is that of a warrior. I wish most people had the courage that she does. And I thought she'd be an inspiration today. So, Sophia, thank you for being on the show today.
Of course.
All right. Well, let's just kind of walk into it. I would like to, your mom told a little about the story, but you were diagnosed at a very young age. Do you remember a lot of what was going on at that time because you were so young? So walk us through, how old were you when you were diagnosed, and maybe your earliest memories of what was going on?
I was 4 when I got diagnosed, and I don't really have early memories of being diagnosed because that's kind of what I've always known.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't a huge change to me.
Mhm.
So
So
yeah,
it,
no,
it was just how it was. You were going to doctors most of your life and having
yeah,
to deal with that. You've got such a strong emotional center from what I've seen. And I know it doesn't just come. You've gone through a lot of different things. Why do you think that is? What really gives you your strength in dealing with all the issues you've gone through? And I'd like to talk in a moment about some of those, but why do you think that is for you? Why do you where does that power come from for you?
I think that it's made me a lot more mature and stuff because it's like I've gone through a lot of different experiences and more patience because I don't know how to describe the patience thing, but kind of waiting for people to adjust, I guess.
Okay, well,
Like
tell me more about that. So when you run into people, because Sophia, you have a slight limp, and tell us about what that is, what the limp is.
I have a really severe case of scoliosis, and so my hips are uneven, so it causes me to limp. And so most people when they meet me, they kind of think I'm injured. And so
Mm.
they're always, "Oh, what happened to you?" Or stuff just kind of lightening it up. And sometimes I'll make up something, like I'll say that I fell down the stairs or I got hit by a car or something. Sometimes they'll actually believe me. But yeah, how do I describe it?
Yeah.
But if I'm actually telling what's going on, then I just kind of tell people that I have a muscle weakness,
Mm.
and then I just tell them what's wrong with my back. So
Okay.
that's why I'm limping.
Now, how many surgeries have you had?
I've only had one, and it was on my Achilles, I think. So because my feet used to go like this, I'd be on my toes and on my sides, and so it kind of helped flatten out my feet. And
Okay.
that's,
Yeah. Now, getting through that surgery, your dad said you were wanting to push it every day. You're going a little further, a little further. What was that like for you?
I'm not someone who likes to be helped that much, which I guess is kind of inconvenient. but I kind of just wanted to be over with it, and I didn't like having more help than I already needed.
Mhm.
So I would always just kind of overdo it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's you have a lot of courage, and your dad always talks to me about, yeah, Sophia, you don't want to help her; she wants to do it on her own. Where does that come from? Walk me through when you see a obstacle, how you want to take it on and not have help with that.
I just like to do as much on my own as I can. I just don't like being babied. That has always really annoyed me. Not that anyone else can help it, but so I always, if I really need help, I'll ask. But like, if there's anything I can do on my own, then I try my best to do it.
That's great. Now, yeah, you've got a great group of friends that I've seen you around, and every time you're around, y'all just light up a room wherever you go. So, tell me about you. Don't like help, but it sounds like you've got a lot of support from your friends. Tell me about a little about your friends.
Well, a lot of them, they've like learned to walk slower. Like Macy's like, now I can't walk in the fast in the hallways. I've been used to walking with you. Or sometimes some of them, like if there's too big of a curb where I feel like I'll like trip, they'll go like they all naturally kind of go like that so I can like lean on them and stuff. And so that's kind of what they'll the most I don't for like support wise, I don't really know, but for helping me, that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, that's good. And who name a couple of them because I'd like to give them a shout out and say thank you for taking care of my girl.
The two main people who help me out a lot is like Macy and Coco or Maddie. And
Maddie, she's a great sister, isn't she? Or is
yeah,
it the other Maddie? Is that there's
well,
another
both of
Maddie?
them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sophia's got a sister named Maddie, and she's a great big sister, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, she really is. She's at Texas A&M right now. So, Sophia, walk me through it. Right now, it sounds like if they were to do a medical diagnosis on you, you wouldn't actually have muscular dystrophy in the blood, or can you explain that?
The best I can explain it, I think my mom would obviously do a better job. But so yeah, basically the way they can see is they'll take your blood and see if your muscles are still deteriorating.
Mhm.
And so now I it doesn't show me getting worse. None of that's there. So if you look at my labs and stuff, it's completely normal.
And that's from going and getting the treatment that you get each year.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
great. That's so good. Tell me some of your biggest struggles, though, because I know there's a lot of people out there that do have disabilities or challenges. What are some of the biggest struggles you've had, and what would you tell people struggling with their struggles right now?
The biggest struggles I've had is just trying to do simple things, but it's kind of like getting in my way, like going somewhere with my friends and not being able to keep up. I have to constantly think about that instead of actually enjoying being out with my friends. Oh, and also people like looking at me. That's kind of a struggle because I've gotten used to it, because it's how it's always been, but it doesn't necessarily feel better.
Mhm.
That's kind of something I struggle with. The way I look at it is people only like think about it for like 2 seconds and then they'll forget about it. So if that's my advice, just don't think about it too much because
Because
people
they're
forget
probably
anyway.
not thinking about it as well. That's a great insight because most people think that others are thinking about them, and after they pass, they're pretty much out of their mind, aren't they?
Yeah, you kind of just forget about it. So
Oh,
if they
yeah.
forget about it, then you should just forget about it too.
Well, what are some of your biggest victories that you've achieved over the years as you've met the obstacles that you run into? So, what are some of your bigger victories?
Definitely like learning that I can walk longer distances than I could before. In the beginning of middle school, I could only walk like I struggled to walk 2 miles. We walked across Belterra and it was bad. I had to get picked up. But then recently I went to Founders and I walked 4 or 5 miles there and I was in pain afterwards, but I could do it. So
Yeah.
that's like really huge.
And do you feel yourself getting stronger as you go further?
When I look back at it, yes. I mean, maybe not day to day, but
Yeah.
when I think about it and sit down and like, oh, then I notice it.
Yeah, and well, in the struggles, you've gradually been getting stronger and stronger because that's the only way you could get that far. Yeah, That's awesome. Let me ask you, who have been some of your inspiring people along your journey to this point? What's inspired you to kind of go forward?
My mom, honestly, because if she's gonna keep on fighting for me, then I need to keep on fighting for myself.
Mm.
And she doesn't give up. If something doesn't work out one way, then she's gonna go find the other way. And she doesn't take no for an answer. It's gonna work out.
So tell me more about that's what you see. Now, do you take that same attitude on?
I try to. I
Yeah.
try my best to. It's not always easy, but
Yeah. Well, I've heard that you went skiing a couple of years ago, and I heard that was just a huge moment for you. So, talk a little about CC for C and what they've done with you, what they were able to do, and what you've done with that group. Because some of the stories around that I thought were just really amazing. I'd like the listeners to hear about what the group is and what you've gotten to do with your family with CC for C.
yeah, so CC4C is an organization for rare and undiagnosed kids, and they help fund a lot of the therapies because they're so expensive. And for me, they put you on like your high school dream team. So I got to be a cheerleader for 2 years, which was really fun. And then there's a bunch of opportunities to go do things. So like I went skiing and I was actually able to do it because you like sit down in this sled thing, then you can go down the mountain, which was really, really fun.
And so,
And so,
have you been twice now?
yeah, yeah, I think so.
That's good. That's awesome. So going forward in life, what do you want to do with, because I feel like your story is for your age and what you've done, you've gone through so many obstacles. What would you like to do with your life because of some of this? Has this kind of given you a direction that you want to go?
Yeah, I hope to like do a lot of motivational speaking and speak at events and stuff for like churches, TED Talks. I think that's something that's really cool. And not necessarily to like give people things to ideas to get therapies, but just to help people know that like you can keep on going
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So, so big TED Talk, let's say we're out here and everyone's watching. What would you say to the people? What would be your story? What would you kind of frame it for us? And why would you say it?
I don't know if it would be more about like I was saying earlier, to keep on going and just because some professionals tell you that it's one way, it doesn't always have to be that way, and they're not always right. Or if it would be more about not to care as much and you just need to do your own thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Like,
so tell me an instance where you've done your own thing in the face of everyone doing something different.
well, I mean that more when people give us medical advice, and it's normally just to wait and like wait and see, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I didn't want to sit here and just get worse. So
Right.
like both me and my mom will go and find other ways to get better and
Great.
find new things.
So it's about taking action rather than just sitting on the sidelines. And that's what
Yeah.
I would say you've done for sure. That's great. So before we break, is there anything you would like to leave the listeners with? Something inspirational that you've heard or that you would like to, a message you would like to leave them with?
I don't Not that I can think of. I
Okay.
don't I don't know.
Okay. Doesn't have to be. But Sophia, to me, I have to say, you've been such an inspiration because every time I've looked, you have a smile on your face. You engage with what's ever in front of you, and you take it on. You don't shy away from it. You go through it. And I wish I had a heart like yours. I would have had a heart like yours at the age of 14. I think I'd be even further than I am now because I think great things are ahead of you. And I just wanted to have you on because I think when I see you, there's that spark in your eyes. And I love that you've overcome the battles that are in front of you. I know you've got more to come, but I want you to know you've been an inspiration to me, and thank you so much. And thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
All right. Thank you, Sophia. And everyone, thanks so much. And join us next time for another episode of A Shot of Inspiration. Bye bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of A Shot of Inspiration. If you like this or any of our other episodes, make sure you rate it and share it with a friend. This is Greg Stevens, and we look forward to being with you next time. Until then, be bold, be courageous, and respectfully speak your truth.